Bridget Mackay, and this is the next installment in my video blogs relating to planning your estate. We have talked about what a will is, what a living trust is, the differences between the two and which you might choose. And this video blog sort of relates to that. I'm going to address the issue of choosing a trustee or an executor for your will or a trust. You may remember from the other two video blogs that the next person to take over after you is called you are a trustee in a trust, and when you die, you have a successor trustee that you need to choose. And in a will, that same person has a different name, and they're called an executor. Both do essentially the same work. So when you're considering who that person's going to be, I have 10 main things you need to consider in choosing that person. I have to say, in planning and drafting estates for people or trusts for people, this issue and the issue of who is going to be the physical guardian for their children vapor lock most people. So here are some points to hopefully loosen up that hesitancy or decision-making process. And when I list these 10 points, I'm really speaking about individuals you may be considering. Clearly, if you have an institutional trustee you want, like Edward Jones or Wells Fargo or Exchange Bank, then those are decisions you make in terms of how much you trust the institution and what their cost is of being a trustee in your trust. So let's start. The first most important point, number one, is you need to choose someone you trust. And that has a whole set of thoughts, I'm sure, in and of itself, but it's someone you trust. And number two, right behind that, you may trust a person, but this person needs to be someone who is trustworthy. Someone who hasn't had a lot of financial difficulty in their life, who for lack of a better word, sort of an upstanding citizen type of person. I mean, you want someone who, if it's a will and there requires a bond, who can pass through a bonding agency and acquire a bond. Just someone who's trustworthy, has integrity. Third on the list, and these really are, in my mind, somewhat in order of importance, but third is you need someone who can make decisions. Have you noticed in this person's personal or work life that they need to consider choices and make decisions, sometimes unpopular decisions, but make decisions nonetheless? Because there's nothing worse than going through a trust, administration, or probate where you have an indecisive trustee who gets influenced if there's conflict and can't reach a resolution. Finally, or number four, you need someone who follows rules. Probating an estate, doing a trust administration is all about rules. You've got to follow a process and stick to it, and there are laws that govern these documents. So you want a rule follower, they can think out of the box, but you don't want them to be a rule breaker or someone who makes their own way. Those often turn out to be bad choices for this role. Fifth, you need someone who's willing to seek help. There are things that a trustee's not going to be able to do, like tax returns, like the legal portion of it, financial planner, someone who either has relationships with these people or is willing to seek out help when they know they're over their head. Six, you need someone who knows your beneficiaries. Often your trusts are going to have sub-trusts that deal with your, not just minor children, but maybe children under a certain age that are still going to be under the trust at your death. So you want your trustees to know your beneficiaries. They don't necessarily have to like them, although that's a benefit, but hopefully someone they know, and best case scenario, someone they respect. Number seven, you want to pick someone your age or younger. If you are younger with a young family and you choose your parents, that's okay, but realize that at some point you're going to need to change that. And that's mostly because you're going to have trusts for the kids within the living trust or within the will that this person's going to have to, if you make the trust when your child's 2 and you choose this person, and that child doesn't get paid out at your death until they're 30 or 40, you want someone who's going to survive that lifespan, or have a good chance of surviving that lifespan. Eighth, you want someone familiar, if possible, with the subject of trust administrations or probates. Maybe someone who's done it before and done it successfully. 9, avoid co-trustees. Often, I see this most typically with parents who have 2 or more children, and they want all the kids to be the trustees on the trust. My advice simply is pick one. Pick one that you think will handle the job better, because just for practicality purposes, with the amount of paperwork that needs to go around to get signed and decisions that need to be made, it is smoother, and you go back to having a decision maker easier when you're dealing with one trustee. Finally, 10, don't be afraid to change it. These documents are living documents. You can go in and amend, revoke, change them at any time. If there comes a point in time where the trustee you originally chose you no longer trust, or have gotten too old, or you don't want, change it. And on that note, be aware of who is your trustee and keep track of that. So those are my 10 points on choosing a trustee or an executor. If you have any other questions, call the number that's located at the end of this video. And thank you for watching.